The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly above the blue giant star of Centauri Prime. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered for what they called the most important vote in a century. Some had scales, others had feathers. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some stood on legs, others floated in tanks of liquid. But today, they all agreed on one thing. Humanity had to go. Ambassador Nari stood in the center of the chamber, her dark eyes scanning the faces and forms around her. She had served Earth for 20 years in this place. She had made friends here. She had thought she understood these people. Now she realized she had been wrong. The charges scrolled across the holographic displays in 100 different languages. Excessive innovation, cultural contamination, dangerous unpredictability, failure to respect traditional methods, disruptive influence on stable systems. The list went on and on. Nari wanted to laugh. They were being kicked out for trying too hard, for caring too much, for fixing things that were broken. High Arbiter Velmuth rose from the central platform. The ancient crystalline being's body caught the light from 1,000 sources, splitting it into rainbows across the chamber walls. Velmuth had lived for 3,000 years. It had seen species rise and fall. Its voice, when it spoke, resonated through the floor itself. The vote is called. All members of the Galactic Council, indicate your decision. Should humanity retain its membership and all associated rights? Nari held her breath. She knew what was coming, but some small part of her still hoped. Maybe enough species remembered the help humanity had given them. Maybe enough recalled the human doctors who had cured their plagues, the human engineers who had fixed their failing stations, the human mediators who had stopped their wars. The numbers appeared above the chamber. 847 votes against, 3 votes in favor, 0 abstentions. The chamber erupted in what Nari could only describe as relief. They were celebrating. They were actually celebrating humanity's removal. Captain Taman watched from the observation gallery above. His military uniform felt too tight suddenly. He had fought beside some of these species. He had bled with them, saved their lives, watched them save human lives in return. Or so he had thought. Now he wondered if any of it had been real. Velmuth's voice cut through the celebration. The decision is final. Humanity is hereby removed from the Galactic Council. All human settlements, stations, and claims within Council space must be abandoned within 10 standard years. All human military vessels must withdraw within 5 years. All technology sharing agreements are terminated immediately. Naras stepped forward. The chamber quieted. Some species looked away, embarrassed perhaps. Others stared at her with what she could only read as contempt or satisfaction. "May I speak?" she asked. Velmuth hesitated, then nodded. "You may offer final words." Nari took a breath. She had prepared a speech, something diplomatic, something that would leave the door open for future relations. But standing here, looking at the faces of beings she had called colleagues and friends, she found herself saying something else entirely.
You think you're solving a problem today?
You think removing humanity will bring you back to the stability and peace you remember. But I need you to understand something. That stability was an illusion. That peace was maintained by us. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Nari continued. You have wars we mediate that you don't even know about because we stop them before they start. You have trade routes we patrol, so you never see the pirates. You have stations we maintain, systems we repair, problems we solve before you even notice them. You think we're disruptive? We're the reason your civilization runs smoothly enough that you can afford to be comfortable. Delegate from the reptilian Karathi collective hissed. Arrogance. You claim credit for everything, Nari said quietly. We claim credit for nothing. That's the point. We did the work no one else wanted to do. We fixed the things no one else cared about. We helped the species who couldn't pay, who weren't important enough, who didn't matter to your grand politics. And now you're telling us to leave. She looked up at Velmuth. The ancient being's crystalline face was unreadable. Fine, we'll go. But understand this. You're not removing a problem today. You're removing a solution you haven't needed yet. And one day, you will need us. I just hope we remember this moment when you come asking." The chamber fell silent. Then Velmuth spoke, its voice cold. "Your melodrama is noted, Ambassador. You have 10 years. Use them wisely." Nari bowed, a gesture of respect she no longer felt. She turned and walked toward the exit. Taman met her at the door, his face carefully neutral. Together, they walked through corridors they had traveled 1,000 times. Around them, alien species moved about their business. None met their eyes in the docking bay. Their shuttle waited. As they boarded, Taman finally spoke. "What do we tell them? Back home?" Nari looked out the viewport at the massive station, at the ships from 100 worlds coming and going. "We tell them the truth. The Council has decided they don't need us anymore. So we're going to show them what a galaxy looks like when humanity stops caring." The shuttle detached and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, in the Great Chamber, the Council was already moving on to other business. Within an hour, the vote to remove humanity was filed away in the archives. Within a day, most species had forgotten about it entirely. It seemed like such a small thing, really. Just one species among thousands. What difference could it possibly make? In the shuttle, Taman pulled up the tactical displays showing human assets across Council space. 300 stations, 500 colonies, 10,000 ships. Millions of humans scattered across thousands of light years. All of them now had to come home. 10 years, he said. "It's going to be tight," Ree nodded. "Then we'd better get started." And Taman, "When we leave, we take everything. Every bolt, every wire, every piece of technology we brought to this place. They want us gone? We'll be gone. Completely." Taman smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Understood, Ambassador. We'll leave them exactly what they had before we arrived. Nothing." The shuttle jumped to faster than light speed, carrying them toward Earth. Behind them, the Council continued its business, confident they had made the right choice. They had no idea what they had just done. Admiral Ji Woo stood on the bridge of the carrier Indomitable, watching the last transport ships load refugees from the human colony on Theta Station. The station had been humanity's gateway to the Eastern Spiral Arm for 40 years. 20,000 people called it home. Now, it would be empty within the week. "Admiral, the last civilian transport reports full capacity," his operations officer reported. "They're ready to depart on your order." Chu nodded. "Send them off, and make sure the engineering teams start dismantling the docking clamps. I want every piece of human technology stripped from this station." Down on the station, Dr. Yoon-ha supervised teams of technicians as they carefully removed equipment from the medical center. The aliens who lived on other parts of the station watched with growing concern. A Karathi merchant approached her as she directed the removal of a medical scanner. "Dr. Yoon-ha, surely you don't need to take the medical equipment." "The station still needs a hospital." Yoon-ha didn't look up from her datapad. "The station will have a hospital. It just won't have our equipment. But these scanners, they can detect diseases that our technology cannot. People will die without them." Now Yuna did look up. Her expression was not unkind, but it was firm. "Then I suggest you purchase scanning equipment from someone else. We're taking everything that belongs to humanity." That was the Council's decision, not ours. The merchant's scales flushed orange with distress. "Please be reasonable. We've been friends for years. Friends don't vote to exile friends," Yoon-ha said quietly. She gestured to her team, and they continued working. On the colony world New Busan, Governor Daijung walked through empty streets. The human settlement had been carved out of a harsh desert world over 30 years. Humans had brought water, built cities, turned red sand into farmland. Other species had said it was impossible. Humans had done it anyway. Now the farms were being harvested one last time. The water treatment plants were being powered down. The atmospheric processors that had slowly transformed the air were being prepared for transport. Everything was leaving. An elderly human woman stopped Daiyung in the street. She had lived on New Busan since the first landing. "Governor, is it true?" We really have to leave. Daejung nodded. I'm afraid so, Mrs. Kang. Earth's orders are clear. All humans out of council space within 10 years. New Busan has 8 years left. What about the aliens who live here now? The ones who came after we made it livable? They can stay if they want. But we're taking our technology with us. Mrs. Kang looked around at the city she had helped build. They won't survive without our systems. The water, the air processors, the power grid. It's all human technology, yes, Daejung said. It is across council space. The same scene played out on hundreds of worlds. Human colonies packed up and left. Human stations were stripped down to bare metal. Human ships gathered their people and began the long journey back to Earth and the other core human worlds in the Orion Spur. The other council species watched with confusion at first, then amusement. The humans were being so dramatic about this. It was just politics. There was no need to be so thorough, so final. But humans kept working with grim determination. Admiral Ji Woo received reports from all sectors. His fleet was responsible for evacuating the entire northern quadrant. Every day brought new challenges. Some human communities didn't want to leave. They had been born on these worlds, known no other home. But Earth's government was absolute. Everyone comes home. No exceptions. On a small trading post called Haven, a human engineer named Young Sik was explaining to the station administrator what would happen after humans left. You see these power conduits? Humans installed them. They'll last maybe 5 years without maintenance. These water recyclers. Human design. When they break, you'll need to find someone else to fix them. This communications array, completely human technology. Good luck finding replacement parts. The administrator, a floating jellyfish-like being, pulsed with anxiety. But you could leave instructions? Manuals? Young-sik shook his head. Our technology, our patents, our trade secrets, we're taking it all. That's what happens when you kick someone out. They take their things with them. This is vindictive, Young-sik said calmly. Vindictive would be sabotaging everything on our way out. We're just leaving. There's a difference. Dr. Yunha spent months traveling between stations, making sure no human medical knowledge was left behind in databases. Every research file was copied and deleted from council systems. Every breakthrough that human scientists had shared freely for decades was now locked away. An alien doctor who had worked with her for 10 years pleaded with her. Yunha, the cure for Malaysian flu, you discovered it. If you delete it, thousands will die in the next outbreak. Then your scientists will have to rediscover it, Yunha said. We shared everything with the council for 50 years. We helped everyone who asked, regardless of whether they could pay. And the council voted 847-3 that they didn't want us around. So now you get exactly what you voted for. A galaxy without human help. Year by year, the evacuation continued. Giwu coordinated fleets of thousands of ships. Entire cities were dismantled and shipped back to human space. Colonial governors like Daejun supervised the abandonment of worlds that humans had spent decades terraforming. By year 8, the flow had become a flood. Millions of humans moving through space, heading home. The council species began to notice problems. Small things at first. A trade route that had always been safe suddenly had pirates. A diplomatic dispute that would have been quietly mediated by humans now escalated into violence. A station that had run smoothly for decades started having system failures. But the council wasn't worried yet. These were minor issues. They had existed for millions of years before humans joined. They would adapt. In year 9, the last major human colony began its evacuation. Daejung stood on the observation deck of the transport ship, watching New Busan shrink behind them. The farms were already turning brown. Without human maintenance, the water treatment plants had started failing. The atmospheric processors had been shut down. In a few years, the desert would reclaim everything. Several thousand aliens who had settled on New Busan were still there. They had thought the humans were bluffing. That surely, out of compassion, humans would leave some systems running. They had been wrong. Admiral Ji Woo filed his final report as year 9 ended. All major human installations evacuated. 99.7% of human population successfully relocated to core territories. All significant technology retrieved or destroyed. The Council has gotten what it asked for. On the last day of Year 10, a single human ship remained in Council space. Ji-Woo commanded it personally. He waited exactly until the deadline expired, then gave the order, "Take us home." The ship turned toward the Orion Spur and jumped to faster-than-light speed. Behind them, the border to human space sealed shut. Earth's government had been clear. Council space was now off-limits. No human ships, no human trade, no human help. The Council wanted humanity gone. Humanity was gone. In the Council chambers, Velmuth noted the final departure in the official records. The human problem was solved. Now they could return to the way things had always been, stable, predictable, peaceful. 50 years of silence began. The Council conducted its business without interruption from humans. At first, everything seemed fine. Better than fine, really. The humans had been so noisy, so insistent, always pushing for change. Now there was order again. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to fall apart. Chancellor Thren of the Avian Concordat noticed the first problem in Year 12. It was small, barely worth mentioning. A trade dispute between two minor species had escalated into a shooting war. 3 colony worlds had been destroyed before the Council finally mobilized peacekeepers. Thousands were dead. Thren checked the historical records. Similar disputes had occurred during humanity's time on the Council, but those had been resolved before anyone died, usually within days, always quietly. The mediator had almost always been human. Strange, Thren said to himself, his feathers ruffling with unease. I never noticed how many conflicts they handled. By Year 15, Trademaster Call was having daily headaches. The commercial shipping routes through the Andromeda Passage had become infested with pirates. Ships were being attacked every week. Trade goods weren't getting through. Entire planetary economies were starting to suffer. Cal assembled a task force to deal with it. It took 3 years and cost billions of credits. When they finally cleared the passage, Call discovered something in the old records. The Andromeda Passage had always had pirates, but for 50 years before the humans left, there hadn't been a single successful pirate attack. Human patrol ships had maintained constant security, asking for nothing in return except fuel and supplies. Why did they do that? Call asked his assistant. They weren't even paid for it. His assistant, a young Karathi, didn't have an answer. On the station formerly known as Haven, systems were failing. The power conduits that Young Seek had warned about finally gave out in Year 17. It took the station engineers 3 months to jury-rig a replacement. It worked, but barely. The water recyclers failed next. Then the air processors. Then the communications array. The station administrator sent desperate requests to the Council for help. Engineers from a dozen species came to look at the problems. They all said the same thing. This was human technology. They didn't know how to fix it properly. They could patch it, but it wouldn't last. Contact the humans, the administrator pleaded. Offer them whatever they want. The Council refused. They had their pride. They wouldn't go begging to a species they had expelled. Dr. Bora lived alone on Earth now, in a small house by the ocean. She had been one of humanity's chief cultural liaisons to the Council. She had spent 30 years building relationships, fostering understanding between species. Now she was retired, tending a garden and trying to forget. Her communication terminal chimed constantly. Messages from alien colleagues, former friends. At first, they had been angry messages. Accusations of abandonment, of cruelty. She had deleted those without reading them. Then the messages changed. They became requests for help. Please. Desperate calls as systems failed and problems mounted. Biora read them all. She answered none. One message was from Dr. Wellis, a Karathi physician she had worked with for 15 years. They had saved hundreds of lives together. Biora, please. The Valasian flu has returned. It's spreading across 3 sectors. We don't have Yunha's cure. We don't even have the research data. People are dying. I know Earth ordered you not to help, but please, for old friendship, send us something. Anything. Biora stared at the message for a long time. Then she closed it and went back to her garden. By year 25, the problems were becoming impossible to ignore. Chancellor Thren presented a report to the full council. The list of issues was staggering. 17 ongoing wars that would have been prevented by human mediation. 34 trade routes that were no longer safe. 52 humanitarian crises affecting species that humans had been quietly helping. Hundreds of technological systems failing across council space because no one knew how to maintain them. This is unacceptable, High Arbiter, Velmuth said. We are the oldest, most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. We cannot allow ourselves to become dependent on one species. With respect, Arbiter, Thren said carefully. I don't think we became dependent. I think we always were dependent. We just never noticed because the humans handled everything so quietly. The chamber erupted in angry denials. Thren pressed on. I've been reviewing records from before humanity joined the council. Do you know how many wars we had per decade? Twice as many as now. How many humanitarian crises? 3 times as many. How many technological advances? Half as many. The humans didn't make us dependent. They made us better, and we threw them out for it. Velmuth's crystalline form pulsed with displeasure. You suggest we made a mistake? I suggest, Thren said slowly, that we didn't understand what we were voting on. We thought we were removing a troublesome member. We actually removed the foundation that held our civilization together. Council refused to admit error. Instead, they threw resources at the problems. They hired mediators from other species to handle conflicts. They hired security forces to patrol trade routes. They hired engineers to maintain failing systems. It didn't work. The mediators lacked the human gift for finding solutions everyone could accept. The security forces weren't as effective as human patrols had been. The engineers couldn't figure out technology they hadn't invented by year 30. Entire regions of council space were in decline. Species that had thrived with human help were now struggling. Colonies that had been prosperous were being abandoned. The grand civilization that had existed for millions of years was coming apart, and still the council refused to admit they had made a mistake. Trademaster Call stood before Velmuth in year 35. Arbiter, we need to discuss the human question. There is no human question, Velmuth said coldly. That matter was settled decades ago. Settled wrong, Call said bluntly. The humans were doing hundreds of essential tasks that we never even knew about. Now those tasks aren't being done, and our civilization is collapsing. Collapsing is an exaggeration. Is it? Cole pulled up statistics. Trade volume down 40%. Colonial development down 60%. Technological innovation down 75%. Average lifespan decreasing for the first time in recorded history. If this isn't collapse, what is it? Velmuth was silent. We need to bring them back, Call said. They won't come. We expelled them. Humans hold grudges, and we offer them something they can't refuse. Money, territory, technology, whatever it takes. Velmuth considered this. Pride warred with practicality. Finally, practicality won. Very well. Open channels to Earth. Let's see if they're willing to talk. The message was sent. It took a week to receive a reply. The response was simple and clear. Humanity is no longer interested in council membership. Do not contact us again.
Ow!
Try it again. And again. Each message was either ignored or rejected. The humans had meant what Nari said in her final speech. They were done with the council. By year 40, the situation was critical. Several council species were on the verge of economic collapse. Wars raged across multiple sectors. Disease outbreaks killed millions. The grand civilization that had stood for millions of years was dying. Chancellor Thren discovered something while researching old records. During the 50 years of human membership, the Council had experienced its longest period of peace and prosperity in recorded history. Not in spite of humanity's presence, but because of it. We didn't just lose a member species, Thren said to himself. We lost our golden age. Then came year 47. Deep space monitoring stations detected something emerging from the dark space between galaxies. Something old. Something vast. Something that began moving toward Council space with clear, hostile intent at first. The Council tried to handle it themselves. They sent their best scientists to analyze it, their most powerful fleets to confront it. Nothing worked. The ancient machine, whatever it was, shrugged off every attack. It destroyed every ship that got close. And it kept coming. "Hi, Arbiter," Velmuth called an emergency session of the Council. For the first time in 3,000 years, its voice held fear. "We need the humans." Chancellor Thren stood. "They won't help us. Not after what we did." "We beg," Velmuth said. "We plead. We offer them anything. Because if we don't, we all die." Drademaster Call was already preparing a ship. "I'll go personally. Maybe they'll at least listen." But even as the delegation prepared to leave for human space, everyone in the chamber knew the truth. They had thrown away their best hope 47 years ago. And now, when they needed humanity most, they had no right to ask for help. The question was whether humans would help them anyway. Captain Young Ho sat in the monitoring station on the edge of human space, drinking coffee and watching his screens. It was boring work mostly, watching for anything that might threaten humanity's territory. Most days, nothing happened. Today was different. "Captain, we've got something on long-range sensors," his analyst called out. "Big signature moving through what used to be Council space. Unknown configuration." Yang Ho set down his coffee and moved to look at the display. The object was huge, larger than any ship he'd ever seen. And the energy readings were off the charts. "How long have we been tracking it?" "For months, sir. It appeared in deep space and started moving toward Council space. We've been watching to see if it would become our problem. And current trajectory takes it right through the heart of Council territory. Estimated arrival at Centauri Prime in 3 weeks." Young Ho pulled up more detailed scans. The object's design was ancient, nothing like current galactic technology. And it was clearly military. Weapon systems covered its hull. Have the Council detected it yet? They must have by now. They have sensor networks in that region. Good. Not our problem then? Young Ho started to turn away, then paused. "Keep monitoring it anyway. I want to know if it changes course toward us." The analyst nodded, but Young Ho could see the conflict on his face. They all knew what was happening in Council space. They all knew the Council was struggling. And now this, sir? Should we warn them? Warn them about what? An object in their own territory that their own sensors can detect? They're not children. Sir, they voted us out, Lieutenant. 847 to 3. They made it very clear they didn't want our help. So we're not helping. Young Ho returned to his coffee, but it tasted bitter now. He pushed the feeling aside. Orders were orders. Humanity was staying out of Council business, no matter what. 3 days later, a Council ship appeared at the border of human space. It had taken heavy damage. Young Ho Station picked it up immediately. "Sir, we have a vessel requesting permission to enter human space. They're asking for emergency assistance." Denied. "Send them the standard message. Council ships are not permitted in human territory. Redirect them to the nearest Council station." "Sir, the nearest Council station is 2 weeks away. Their life support is failing." Young Ho felt his jaw tighten. "Are there any humans on board?" "No, sir. All Council species." "Then it's not our responsibility. Send the message and tell them to leave." The analyst hesitated, then complied. Young Ho watched as the damaged ship turned away and began limping back toward Council space. He told himself it was the right call. But that night, he couldn't sleep. The reports kept coming in. The ancient machine had reached Council space. Their fleets had engaged it. The results were catastrophic. Shields that could withstand Star-class weapons failed instantly. Hull armor that had never been breached melted like ice. Every ship that got close was destroyed. Hundreds of vessels. Thousands of crew. All gone. Young Ho compiled everything into a report, and sent it up the chain. Someone above his pay grade would decide what to do. For now, he just watched and recorded. Then the delegation arrived. 3 ships flying council diplomatic flags appeared at the border station. They requested permission to enter human space. They requested an audience with Earth's government. They requested help. The request went all the way to Earth. It took 3 days for a response to come back. Young-ho almost smiled when he read it. Permission granted. Make them wait. The council ships were directed to Earth's orbit. There, they sat for 3 full days. No one contacted them. No one acknowledged them. They just waited. On the 3rd day, General Haewon finally granted them an audience. High Arbiter Velmuth stood in the human receiving chamber, and for the first time in its 3,000-year life, it felt small. The chamber was simple, functional, nothing like the Grand Council halls. And the humans who waited for them looked at the delegation with cold, neutral expressions. General Haewon sat at the head of a plain table. She was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, uniform spotless. Next to her sat Admiral Ji-woo, who had overseen humanity's evacuation 47 years ago. His expression was particularly icy. "High Arbiter," Haewon said without preamble. "You requested this meeting. Speak." Velmuth had prepared a careful diplomatic speech. But standing here, looking at these humans, it all seemed hollow. So instead, it told the truth. "We were wrong. We need your help." Silence filled the chamber. Haewon didn't react. She just waited. Velmuth continued. "An ancient weapon system has activated in deep space. We don't know what triggered it. We can't stop it. It's destroying everything in its path. Within 6 months, it will have annihilated most of the Council's core worlds. Billions will die. You want us to save you," Gu said. His voice could have frozen fire. "Yes. Why should we?" Haewon asked. "Give me one good reason why humanity should risk its people for the Council that expelled us." Trade Master Call stepped forward. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because people are dying. Because regardless of what the Council did to you, there are billions of innocent lives at stake." "Innocent," Haewon repeated. "Were they innocent when they voted to remove us? When they celebrated our departure? When they refused every request we made for help over the past 47 years? Chancellor Thren spoke up. "No, we weren't innocent. We were fools. We had something precious, and we threw it away because we were too proud to see its value. We deserve what's happening to us. But the children being born right now, the people who never voted on anything, they don't deserve to die for our mistakes." Haewon leaned back in her chair. "You know what's interesting? We detected that weapon system 4 months ago. We've been studying it, analyzing it. We knew it would be your problem, and we did nothing. Because it wasn't our responsibility anymore. You made that very clear." Velmuth's crystalline form dimmed. "So you'll let us die." "Didn't say that," Haewon said. "I asked why we should help. You still haven't given me a good reason." "There is no good reason," Velmuth said quietly. "There's only mercy. Only compassion. Only the hope that humanity is better than we were." The chamber fell silent again. Haewon looked at each of the human officers around the table. Something passed between them without words. Finally, she spoke. "You're right. There is no good reason. By any logical calculation, we should let you handle your own problems. You expelled us. You ignored us. You made it clear you didn't need us. So we should sit here in our space and watch you burn." Velmuth's light dimmed further. But Haewon continued, "Humans don't always do the logical thing. Sometimes we do the stupid thing, the idealistic thing, the thing that costs us but saves others. It's one of the things you hated about us, I believe. Our inability to just let things alone." She stood. "We'll help. But not because you asked. Not because you deserve it. We'll help because there are people dying, and we're too damn human to ignore that." Velmuth's light flared bright. "Thank you. I'm not finished," Haewon said coldly. "We'll help on our terms. First, a public apology to humanity broadcast across all council space. Second, full admission that the vote to remove us was a mistake. Third, memorial installations on every council world, acknowledging humanity's contributions. Fourth, complete autonomy for human space. No council laws apply to us. No council oversight. We help you, then we go back to being separate. Forever. Done, Velmuth said immediately. All of it. Whatever you want. Good, now get back to your ships. We'll send technical teams to brief you on what we've learned about the weapon system. Admiral Jiwoo will coordinate the military response. The council delegation left, relief evident in every movement. As the door closed behind them, one of Haewon's officers spoke up. General, you said we've been studying the weapon system. I wasn't aware of that. Haewon smiled for the first time. Because we haven't. Oh, not officially. But Captain Young-ho has been tracking it for 4 months and sending me personal reports. And some of our best engineers may have been running simulations on how to stop it. Purely theoretical exercises, of course. Jiwoo actually laughed. So we were preparing to help them, even though we knew they didn't deserve it. That's what humans do, Haewon said. We're idiots that way. Now, let's go save the galaxy. Again. President Hyenzik addressed the human fleet commanders in a secured communication from Earth. 50 ships hung in space at the edge of human territory, ready to move. They weren't the largest ships. They weren't the most heavily armed, but they were crewed by humans, and that made all the difference. I know many of you think we're making a mistake, Hyenzik said. His face showed on screens across the fleet. The council threw us out. They made it clear they didn't want us. Some of you lost friends, family, homes because of that decision. You have every right to be angry. Admiral Taemin stood on the bridge of the flagship Resilient. He had been a captain when the council expelled humanity. Now he commanded the entire response fleet. He listened to his president with careful attention. But we're not doing this for the council, Hyenzik continued. We're doing this because it's who we are. We're the species that runs toward danger, not away from it. We're the people who help even when it costs us, even when we're not wanted, even when we get nothing in return. That's what makes us human. Taemin thought about Nari's final speech in the council chamber all those years ago. She had warned them, and she had been right. Ambassador Nari will be joining you, Hyenzik said. She's coming out of retirement for this mission. She'll handle the diplomatic aspects. Admiral Taemin will handle the military operation, and Engineer Sunmi will lead the technical team. You three have full authority to do whatever it takes. The communication ended. Taemin looked at his crew. They were mostly young, born after the expulsion. They had grown up hearing stories about the council's betrayal. But here they were, ready to risk their lives for the same people who had expelled their parents. Nari arrived on the flagship 6 hours later. She was older now, her hair more gray than black, but her eyes still held that same sharp intelligence. She walked onto the bridge and nodded to Taemin. Admiral, it's been a long time, Ambassador. Welcome back to service. I never wanted to come back, Nari said honestly. But here we are. Engineer Sunmi was already deep in the technical data when they reached the planning room. She was younger, born 3 years after the expulsion. Her entire life had been in human space, away from the council. But she understood alien technology better than anyone in the fleet. Tell me what we're dealing with, Taemin said. Sunmi pulled up holographic displays. It's a Sentinel-class weapon system. Ancient design, probably 50,000 years old. Designed to automatically defend its creator's territory. Something woke it up, and now it thinks everything nearby is an enemy. The council can't stop it. Their weapons bounce off its shields. Their shields can't stop its weapons. It's using principles of physics they don't understand. But we do. Taemin raised an eyebrow. How? Because we've been studying ancient technology for decades. While the council focused on refining their existing tech, we went digging through old ruins. We found references to these sentinels. We even found partial schematics. Sunmi smiled. The council never bothered with archaeological research. They thought it was beneath them. We thought it was fascinating. Nari looked at the data. So we can stop it? I think so. But it won't be easy. We need to get a team inside the structure. Plant charges at specific points. Overload its power core. The explosion will be massive. Survival rate for the team? Taemin asked. Sunmi hesitated. Low, maybe 20%. I'll lead the team myself, Taemin said immediately. No, Nari said firmly. You're the fleet commander. We need you coordinating from here. I'll go, Ambassador. I'm old, Admiral. I've lived my life. Let me do something useful with what's left of it. They argued for an hour. Finally, they compromised. Taemin would lead the assault team. Nari would coordinate with the council from the flagship. Sunmi would oversee the technical aspects from a support ship. The fleet jumped into council space. They moved fast, not asking permission. By the time the council realized humans were in their territory, Taemin's ships were already engaging the Sentinel. The ancient weapon turned its attention to the new threat. Energy beams lanced out, each one powerful enough to vaporize a planet. But the human ships didn't try to tank the hits. They dodged, weaved, used the debris field from destroyed council ships as cover. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. All ships pattern Delta 7, Taemin ordered. Keep it distracted. Assault team with me. A small shuttle detached from the Resilient and screamed toward the Sentinel. Point defense systems tracked it immediately. Dozens of smaller weapons opened fire. The shuttle's pilot, a young woman named Hae-jin, threw the ship into a series of maneuvers that would have killed most species from the GI forces alone. Humans just gritted their teeth and held on. They reached the Sentinel's hull and burned through with cutting torches. Taemin led his team inside. 12 humans in combat armor, carrying enough explosives to level a city. The interior was dark, lit only by their helmet lights. Ancient corridors stretched in every direction. Sunmi's voice crackled over the radio. You need to reach the central power chamber. Follow the energy readings. I'm uploading the path to your displays. They moved through the Sentinel, fighting automated defenses. The ancient machines were deadly, but they were predictable. They followed programmed responses. Humans were anything but predictable. Outside, the fleet was taking casualties. 3 ships destroyed. 4 more heavily damaged, but they kept the Sentinel's attention, kept it from finishing off the Council's core worlds. Nari watched from the flagship, her hands clenched. She had sent messages to the Council, explaining what humanity was doing. The responses had been a mix of gratitude and shame. High Arbiter Velmuth sent a personal message. Ambassador, I'm watching your people die for us. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, Nari replied. Just remember this. Remember what it costs. Taemin's team reached the power chamber. It was vast, a sphere of energy contained by machinery that hummed with ancient power. Sunmi's voice was urgent in their ears. Place the charges exactly where I marked. You'll have 90 seconds to get clear once you activate them. The blast radius will be enormous. Taemin's team worked fast. Charges placed. Timers set. But as they turned to leave, one of the automated defenses they had missed opened fire. 3 team members went down. The explosion damaged the shuttle docked outside. Shuttle's compromised, Hae-jin reported. I can get maybe half of you out. Taemin did the math instantly. 12 people. 6 spaces. 90 seconds until detonation. Get the wounded first, he ordered. Then anyone who can fit. Admiral, that's an order. Go. 6 people made it to the shuttle. Hae-jin looked at Taemin through the airlock. Her face was anguished. I can't leave you. You can and you will. Get them out. Tell Nari the mission succeeded. The shuttle pulled away. Taemin and 5 others watched it go. They had 60 seconds left. Sir, one of the soldiers said. His name was Jae-soon. It's been an honor. Likewise, Taemin said. But then Sunmi's voice cut through. Wait, there's an escape pod system. Ancient design, but it should still work. 40 meters from your position. If you run, you might make it.
They ran.
Through corridors, jumping over debris, racing against time. The power core was building too critical. The whole structure was shaking. They reached the escape pods with 15 seconds to spare. Threw themselves inside. The pods launched just as the charges detonated. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The Sentinel tore itself apart from the inside. The blast wave caught the human fleet. But they had pulled back far enough to survive. When it was over, the ancient weapon was gone. Just debris floating in space. And 6 small escape pods tumbling through the wreckage. The fleet recovered all 6 pods. All 6 crew members survived, though Tommen had a broken arm and Jaesoon had a concussion. Nari met Tommen in the medical bay. She didn't say anything. She just hugged him, something she had never done in all their years of service. "We did it," Taemin said. "Yes, we did." The council sent transmissions. Gratitude, praise, offers of rewards. Velmuth sent a personal message asking when humanity would be ready to discuss rejoining the council. Nari recorded her response carefully. She made sure every species would hear it. "Hi, Arbiter. We helped you because people were dying. Because it was the right thing to do. Not because we wanted back into the council. Not because we forgave you. We did this because we're human, and humans help people. Even people who don't deserve it. You asked us to leave 47 years ago. We left. That decision stands. Humanity will remain independent. We will remain in our space. And we will not be part of your council again. But," she continued, "we will help when help is needed. Not as members. Not as subjects. As allies who choose to help. On our terms. In our way. You don't get to vote on whether we're worthy anymore. We'll decide for ourselves when and how to act." Velmuth's response came hours later. The ancient being's voice was quiet, humble in a way Nari had never heard. "We understand. And we're grateful. Not just for saving us today, but for showing us what we lost. We had strength, technology, history, but you had something else? Something we couldn't measure or quantify. You had heart." Human fleet prepared to return home. As they did, something unexpected happened. Ships from 100 council species formed an honor guard. They lined the route back to human space, their lights blazing in salute.